disciple's question to the Master. When we are reciting the Buddha's name in the main hall, if we smell a floral fragrance or see a bodhisattva, and in such a situation, our intention is not to show off, but simply to share it with fellow practitioners, may we share it with everyone? Master's answer: my suggestion is, keep it in moderation. It is best not to speak about it if you can avoid doing so. Think about it. Since you are learning Buddhism, it is best to explain the principles to others. If a person begins to practice because of auspicious signs or spiritual experiences, then there is a problem. The starting point of that person's faith is not correct. Of course, some people may say that this is a way to create good affinities with others, and that is not wrong. But do not let it become a trend. In truth, the best way to guide and transform sentient beings is to teach the Dharma, to help them understand the principles. That is the proper path. This is also what the Buddha did. You may say that the Buddha also manifested spiritual powers. Yes, he did, but that was only when necessary. When the Buddha displayed spiritual powers, it was usually to subdue non-Buddhist practitioners, because many of them held wrong views. After the Buddha subdued them, he would always proceed to teach the Dharma. Spiritual experiences and supernatural powers are not the main course of Buddhism. This is something we must first understand. The problem now is that we have overemphasized expedient means to the point that we have turned snacks into the main meal, especially in the Pure Land tradition. Do not treat spiritual responses and supernatural experiences as our main course. Our recitation of the Buddha's name should be established from the perspective of causes and conditions, because we contemplate the suffering of samsara and the faults of spiritual regression. We are willing to seek rebirth in the Pure Land. There should be doctrinal support and wise reflection behind this. Only then will your practice be solid. You cannot come to recite the Buddha's name simply because of spiritual experiences or supernatural signs. That motivation is not correct. It is not that one can never use expedient means. The Buddha also said in the Lotus Sutra that he opens the door of expedient means in order to reveal the true reality. That is acceptable. But you must be confident that after you speak about spiritual experiences, people will not become attached to them. Instead, they should simply be encouraged by them and develop greater faith in the Buddha's name, without any negative after effects. If you have this kind of insight, then you may use expedient means. Otherwise, do not open this door casually. If others become poisoned by it, then the loss outweighs the gain. Today, if we want to give something to sentient beings, of course we may skillfully offer expedient means, but we must also consider, after this person receives it, what consequences will follow. If you report a spiritual experience, and the listeners all have sufficient understanding and a solid foundation in Buddhist teachings, then they will not become attached. In that case, the experience may serve as a form of encouragement, and I think that is acceptable. But if these people do not have a foundation in the teachings, then once you speak about spiritual experiences, trouble begins. When they recite the Buddha's name, they will no longer pay attention to the sound of the recitation. Instead, their eyes will start wandering around. Has the Buddha or Bodhisattva appeared? Is there any light? In that case, although your mistake may have been unintentional, there is still a problem, because you caused it. An unintentional mistake is still a mistake, because you were not skillful. You opened the door of expedient means incorrectly. Therefore, teaching the Dharma is not a simple matter. How to combine provisional teachings with true teachings, how much true teaching to explain, and how much provisional teaching to use, none of this is easy. If you speak only from a rational and doctrinal standpoint, some people may find it too dry. But the arrangement and balance between provisional and true teachings is a very profound skill. Observing people's capacities is like being a doctor. It is not easy. So I feel that with regard to spiritual experiences and supernatural powers, if you are not confident, I suggest that you do not speak casually. If the listeners do not have complete understanding of the principles, then once you talk about spiritual experiences, some people may become poisoned and begin pursuing such experiences. Although your mistake was unintentional, an unintentional mistake is still a mistake because you lacked skillful means. In the past, there was Elder Dongchu. Do you know who Elder Dongchu was? He was the teacher of Master Sheng Yen. Once he was leading a 7-day Buddha recitation retreat in Taipei. During the retreat, one of the lay followers hosted a discussion session, and everyone shared many stories of spiritual experiences. Elder Dongchu came out and said just one sentence: "You have seen ghosts." That statement hit the point directly. Spiritual responses with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are not so simple. Many times, to be honest, they are actually interactions with ghosts and spirits. Be careful. I want to remind everyone, inviting spirits is easy, but sending them away is difficult. It is best not to provoke these things. You cannot handle them. I am telling you honestly, you cannot handle them. The consequences can be endless. Truly, you cannot afford to get involved. Keep your distance. You walk your path and let them walk theirs. Do not bring disaster upon yourself. Therefore, with regard to spiritual experiences and supernatural powers, have as little contact with them as possible. Speak of them less, pursue them less, and it is best to keep your distance.